of nature was as vicious and violent as the myths related above. But this would not serve the priests to tell the truth about how creation actually comes about. So it was removed, and a supernatural version known as the priestly or pious fraud. You ever heard of a pious fraud? That was coined to actually give a reference to Christianity's first Bibles. And the reason why Christianity went through so many different changes was because it had the chance to change it, because the Bible was a forbidden book to read at one time. Did you know that? It was death to read the Bible. It went through so many changes before it got to you. The only thing that stopped the Bible from being further perverted was the printing press. Archbishop Chrysostom said, "This thing will do us. This will see the end of us." Why? Because now we can't change it to suit our liking. Once you got that particular version, that's it. That's why they had to come out with the King James Version in 1611. Because the printing press was coming out around about that time. And when the printing press came, that means everybody could get a copy. That means they couldn't change it too many times. But they got a chance to change it. The Mormons changed it up. The Gideons changed it up. Everybody changed words here and there. But the changing of these little words, just these little changes, changed the whole meaning of a sentence. You can turn that air conditioner back on, because you know how much you want to eat. Can you please turn that back on? Yes. Just plug it back into the wall. The prerequisite for the rulership of a priesthood is a divine avenger. Listen to me carefully, everybody. A priesthood needs a divine avenger. One who will come down and smite you if you don't do the right thing. One who will kick your ass if you don't do the right thing. They hold that sword of Damocles over your head and tell you that if you don't do the right thing, God will come down and take you away from here into the hellfires of perdition. And the devil will tempt you to do this, and the devil will tempt you to do that. And the devil don't like what God does, and the devil don't like, well, who the hell is the devil? They never tell you who the devil is. It's this thing that comes around and tempts you and takes you away from God. Then how the hell does the devil come into being? Obviously, the devil must be just as powerful as God if he's got that much power to kick your ass and take you away from everything. It must be that the devil is God. Ooh, devil can't be God. Then obviously, we are the devil then. With man as the sinner and God as a divine avenger, and therefore dependent upon the priests for salvation, we had a whole new economy. It was to this end that the process was continued. The semi-mythic Elohists rewriting and deifying the Yahweh's characters, and finally the priest declaring a personal God created the world in 6 days, saying, "Let it be." This God concept of the priestly mind is the cornerstone of the Bible. The priestly account of creation is nothing more than kindergarten cosmology. Let me say that again. The priestly account of creation, as it is written, is nothing more than a kindergarten account of cosmological phenomena. One that the priest thinks that you're too dumb to understand. Personification of cosmological principles now makes it easier for you to assimilate the garbage. This is so because Western man, and listen to this carefully, the reason why we blindly accept the literal fact for over 2,000 years, we blindly accept literal fact for 2,000 years is because the Western conceptual mind is incapable of abstract thought. The thinking context wherein you have been pigeonholed from the time of your education in a system that is Christian-oriented, because all books of the education system first has to be passed through the Vatican Library, and the Vatican, what do you call that? What do you call the process that they start taking stuff out then? Editing. All Western thought and context that deals with going into the education system must first be edited through the Bible and through the Vatican's context. Now, I have a lot of good Christian people who are good without being Christian, but good people who call themselves Christian will take issue with me because, hey, when they pray, I pray along with them. When they say Jesus, I say Jesus. They feel comfortable. I'm about making people feel comfortable. But if you're going to sit down and talk to me and try to sit with me and define with me like the Jehovah's Witnesses, the J-Wits come up and talk to me and tell me that I don't know who I am because I have not accepted Jesus, now we're going to war. Because with your limited purview, and most Christians are not researchers. Most people who do study Christianity as researchers research within the confines of Christianity. They dare not go outside that. First of all, Christianity wouldn't put you there because it would be too much like right. And then it would be a defeatist purpose to put you on track with where Christianity got most of their information. Then you would need Christianity. Western man, as he presently operates within his intellectual context, is incapable of abstract thinking. And because of that, he accepts fairy tales as truth. He accepts a snake coming up to talk to a woman with an apple in his mouth and say, eat that apple. He accepts a stick falling to the ground, turning into a snake. He has no clue as to what the deeper esoteric principles are behind what that story is, and doesn't care. Just give me Jesus. All I want to know is Jesus. And that's all you're going to know. And you will be the blissfully ignorant who are led to the slaughter. You will be the flock that is fleeced. All of the cosmological and metaphysical thought Western man had come unto him came from the East. Any kind of cosmological, metaphysical thought came from the East. There is no spirituality that came from Europe. Not one shred of spiritual evidence can be found in Europe. The ancient Orientals, the Melanites, were capable of such thinking, but not Western man, and this includes the so-called Jews, because he is of the Caucasoid race. Don't believe that because you see them piously reading the Kabbalah or any of these books that they got something on you. And don't believe because the Christians defer to them as the chosen people that somehow choosing them as the one that you use to follow the path to righteousness will somehow get you saved. A fool in his common sense. In his own metaphysical, metahistoric, and spiritual incompetency, Western European man has put the stamp of his own destructive ego on everything, including the Creator. Blinded by his own erroneous perceptions, concepts, and his arrogance, he cannot see that it is only that percentage of the race incapable of abstract thought that believes his anthropological bullshit. There is but a few that have become the many that are incapable of thinking peripherally or beyond the context of that which they are given to think of. If you are here shows exactly what I'm speaking about. I pretty much am preaching to the choir. There ain't nothing I'm saying. And then you come, then you get some piece of information that you haven't got from past information. I can go on forever, but you know what I'm talking about. I'm giving this is actually for the tape right here. This tape is actually to go out. It's going to be disseminated amongst those who don't know. But it's all so good to see my family back here. My family in the spirit back here. To bounce this back off of, to feel from you. Because you're all generating the energy that I need. And actually made me even want to come out to see my people's faces. That part of him that calls himself Christian could not even create a God or religion itself. Christians are not even capable of creative thinking. They can't even creatively perceive God outside of what they've been given in the dead letter word. And I speak about it as dead letter because it is nothing but words. And it has been infused with a meaning that is corrosive to common sense. Corrosive to your ability to reason with another human being about divinity. Detached from all of the different anthropomorphic representations of God. And that goes for all forms, even the Kemetic, and what we misinterpret of the Kemetic reality. And what did they themselves do as far as Christians borrowing from it? Even the Jews themselves. They themselves did not even know about other worlds. And even in the book they speak about cosmologies. If you talk to a Christian about astrology and things like that, they'll say that's devil worship. They'll say Satan got hold of you for thinking beyond that. Just imagine what the European folks must have thought about Copernicus and all these people. When they were telling you, hey, the earth goes around the sun, not the sun goes around the earth. What? No. Something wrong with that boy. They didn't even know the world was round. They thought that if they walked far enough, they'd fall off. And they were Christians. As a matter of fact, when Christianity reached its zenith, they blocked off that time period and called it the Dark Ages. Hello, somebody. Check. It was at the zenith of Christianity that all forms of human torture were perfected. It was at the zenith of Christianity that books were burned. Edifices to knowledge and wisdom, one called the Alexandrian Library, was raised. It was to this priestcraft that forwarded this sick mentality that kept us as a species and as a race in a numbing ignorance of self for over 2,000 years. Now just think about this. Nothing stands still. All things are based on change and movement. Imagine for 2,000 years the human consciousness was stultified, pigeonholed into a bracket of thinking while the universe moved forward, trying in its own inimitable way to teach man through vibratory notes, through the music of the spheres, through nature and the way she would hum her tunes and melodies to us. Imagine for 2,000 years we were looking to a Jesus. For 2,000 years, the spirit of evolution on the spiritual plane was trying to reach us, and we looked into here for that. Stultified by interpretations from a priestcraft that became obscenely wealthy and powerful on our belief structure. Where has the universe been? Where is it now compared to the ignorance and the stultifying stupidity that we operate under today? Where are we supposed to be in context with the universe 2,000 years removed? Think about that. In spite of their pretended intimacy with the Creator, and this goes with the Jews, the so-called Jews never had a great knowledge of things cosmic or metaphysical. They were plagiarists, thieves, stealing myths and mythical artifacts from ancient civilizations like Kemet and Sumer, stealing principles they did not understand. All the Jews had were war songs when they entered into Kemet, into Babylon. Not one piece of astrophysical or cosmological literature did they have until after their 60-year sojourn through the gates of Kemet. So don't go through the open door. Now let's touch upon the pre-religious age of enlightenment, when people sat down and spoke about the Creator without certain affixed images to its person and its principle. When you speak about pre-religion, you speak about an age of reason. You speak about building pyramids. You speak about people space traveling without leaving their bodies. You speak about visiting other planets and other dimensional time zones of consciousness. You speak of a time when people knew you can't build a pyramid of that size and be at war. What have you done to your workforce? You have to sacrifice them to fight. Civilizations such as Sumer, Babylon, Kemet, so-called Lemuria, all civilizations that were up on Mars, these civilizations needed time. A time of great peace. A time to observe the procession of equinoxes. That don't come with you trying to fight off somebody at your borders, constantly thinking about your security. That comes from reflection. That comes from getting a good night's sleep. That comes from eating Nigel's food. You don't build pyramids being an idiot. You don't build pyramids being a fool. You don't build pyramids with this education. Because everything that was built based upon this education is about to come down. 51,000 years of documented history in stone still exists from our technology. In 1.5 years, things come crumbling down. What does that tell you? You want to holler? There was a time when man possessed the greatest knowledge about the cause and creation of things. We call it the enlightened ones. We call them the enlightened time. And their knowledge was called the ancient wisdom. It wasn't called Christianity. It wasn't called Buddhism. It wasn't called Shintoism. It wasn't called Islam. It was called the ancient wisdom. Because it was a thinking dynamic and a postulating dynamic that grew with the knowledge that it used as its base. It didn't stagnate. Like all things that grow and evolve, so did knowledge. With reasoning uncorrupted by false theologies, they were able to study reality and thus arrive at truth. Studying reality today is dangerous. Because if you were ever to find out what reality truly is and go out and try to teach that in the education system that we have today, shame on you. But due to the change in psychic laws of perception, here's the problem now. Now we gotta go back to what the hell happened on the planet that made us so fucking stupid. Think about it. 99% of the human race are stupid beyond. We are some dumb motherfuckers. And I'm telling you now, in all